Hello everyone, today I want to talk to you about why Indonesia is not buying China's J-10 fighter jets. Also, the New York Times harshly criticized Trump, saying he's like a shooter who fires before aiming, and a businessman carrying a tariff time bomb. From the trade war to the White House, Trump has brought chaos, and it's making the American elite more and more unable to tolerate him. One of them, of course, is the elite media outlet the New York Times. On June 3, Holidman, who used to write for World Video and is a well-known author, commented on this. Zhang Zhongli's shortcomings directly target the reality that is making Americans so frustrated right now. In Trump's bid for a second term, could it be that demand really can't stand Trump anymore? Someone running for their own country's president, not beating around the bush, criticizing Trump directly, even the Chinese are criticizing him even more harshly. For you don't mind he not. History will praise those who speak frankly. The current US government in front of us isn't really a national governing body, but rather a replica of Trump's private business. Trump isn't stepping down, he's just repeating what he's done before. The script of business failure and bankruptcy has turned the presidential office into a branch of the Trump Group. Just a few days ago, the financial world even came up with a new term, taco deal, which means a deal that Trump will always back out of. Of course, this kind of thing only encourages Trump, triggering a series of verbal counterattacks. But Friedman added fuel to the fire by responding to Trump's furious outbursts with a whole column, analyzing Trump's timid deal-making from multiple angles. The first systemic accusation: is there ever a president without a follow-up? This is Friedman's most vivid description of Trump's governing style: shoot first, aim later. Trump's decisions lack any sort of scenario planning. There's no cross-departmental coordination, no review of historical experience, and not even the most basic fact-checking is done. So basically, no one knows what to do next, because nothing was thought through beforehand. As for the second step, he thinks he's taking the first step, while everyone else. They completely follow Trump's ever-changing diplomatic stance towards Canada and Russia, which is neither systematic nor has any long-term planning. When it comes to tariffs, it puts American industries right in the line of fire, and even the enemy's counterattacks are hard to predict. According to Friedman, when Trump imposed tariffs on China, China immediately introduced export controls on rare earth magnets, directly impacting the supply chain for American drones, robots, and missiles. Friedman is really sharp. He asked, "Do you think Trump ever considered China's chain reaction? I dare say the probability is zero, right? This isn't just a one-off incident, but actually a continuation of Trump's previous record, starting from when he first imposed steel and aluminum tariffs in 2017. Raising it to 25% didn't lead to job growth in the US, but actually caused a loss of 75,000 jobs. Even the Wall Street Journal bluntly said that this was a policy disaster dragging down millions of consumers. Now, Trump has actually decided to double the domestic tariffs to 50%, and on top of that, there's no remedial strategy in place." Friedman sarcastically said, "I really want to see this. Will anyone in this administration actually dare to come up with a simulation report?" Trump launched a tech war against China, but he hasn't even considered how to fill the gaps in America's own technology. Wei Duan pointed out that America's future competitiveness depends not only on hardware, meaning manufacturing capability, but also on software, which refers to talent. But while Trump is waving the tariff stick with one hand, he's also cutting off America's pipeline for attracting STEM international students with the other. STEM stands for science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Trump even once threatened to revoke the visas of Chinese students. While China produces 3.5 million STEM graduates every year, almost equal to the total number of all university graduates, and there's a heavy reliance on engineering talent. With Chinese and Indian students, Trump's policies are actually pushing the backbone of future tech talent towards Europe, Canada, and even back to Asia. Meanwhile, Friedman quoted the economist Noah Smith's viewpoint. Guoliangbao has already effectively weakened the US's ability to manufacture cheap batteries, not only hitting the electric vehicle industry but also handing over the most crucial weapon systems on the modern battlefield, drones, to others. The green energy strategy promoted during the Biden era is now slipping out of Trump's hands. It's falling apart. The second characteristic is Trump-style bankruptcy. Friedman summed it up by saying that Trump lacks the self-discipline and logic needed for decision-making, making the Trump administration not really a U.S. government, but more like Trump's private company, that is, the Trump Organization. Treating a country like a company for the sake of making deals shows a complete lack of respect for knowledge, procedures, and institutions, and has never been in line with them. Truly capable officials have reached a consensus, saying, "What I am experiencing is not just a policy mistake, but a systemic crisis." Trump was even called out for interfering in foreign affairs, like telling his friend Steven Mnuchin what to do, and letting him take charge of U.S. Middle East issues. Kushner still ended up acting like a shadow Secretary of State, while the actual heavyweight figures from before, like the current Secretary of State Rubio in this administration, have almost lost their voices, as if they've been reduced to handling the affairs of some small Central American country. As for how things are run, Letterman is worried that during Trump 1.0, there were still a few technocrats around who could barely balance out the political impulses from within the administration. But in the 2.0 era, everyone around him has already been replaced by people who just echo his words. Whatever he says, they just repeat it. Whatever Trump wants, they just bow down and hand it to him. Friedman angrily criticized, saying that if Trump 1.0 was about "it's my turn to be in charge," then Trump 2.0 is all about "it's my turn to take everything for myself." Friedman compared Trump to a businessman who habitually goes bankrupt, rather than a strategist. Throughout his career, Trump has already filed for bankruptcy protection for 6 of his subsidiaries, and now he's using the same kind of impulsive, off-the-cuff logic to run the country, letting major geopolitical and economic decisions be dictated by his own impulses and gut feelings. Third, an unrestrained government. At the very least, Friedman would remind you that what we're talking about is not just a reckless president, but also an unrestrained government. And finally, if you think this isn't dangerous, just remember, this president has filed for bankruptcy protection 6 times. This isn't a coincidence, but rather the underlying logic behind how he does things. So, what's your question? Could a country be dragged into deep trouble by reckless deals? To be clear, Friedman wasn't writing a partisan attack piece, he was genuinely worried about the future of the United States. That's why he wrote this article, once again sounding the alarm about the system, believing that reckless deal-making has become the main theme of national governance. When the logic of "shoot first, aim later" becomes the highest administrative principle, what we're facing isn't just tariff failures, technology loss, or the collapse of the electric vehicle supply chain, it's a collapse of the country's overall strategy and rationality. In Friedman's writing, Trump is no longer just an individual, but a symbol of systemic dysfunction. And this isn't off the mark, because fundamentally, there's no real belief in having a direction at all. The problem is, in the US, there's no one left who can stop Trump. After reading Friedman's article, it can be simply summed up as, first, Trump makes reckless decisions without any follow-up. Second, Trump treats the country like his own private company, where he alone has the final say. But when it comes to running companies, he already has a record of 6 bankruptcies. Third, Trump's agenda is full of failures, but the problem is that no one in the US can stop him. On another note, I want to talk about how China's J-10C fighter jet shot down an Indian Rafale, which is made in France, in a battle over South Asia. For a while, it became a star product in the arms trade market. This has attracted the attention of potential buyers. According to a Bloomberg report on June 5, after previously purchasing Rafale fighter jets, Indonesia is now considering buying a combat-proven fighter jet with real action experience. Deputy Defense Minister M. Harinder publicly stated the government is studying the fighter jet widely used by the Chinese Air Force. The question is whether the J-10C fighter jet meets their combat requirements and can be integrated into Indonesia's existing systems. It was mentioned that during the Indonesian Air Force officials' visit to China, they received an offer for the J-10C fighter jets. Indonesia is currently in the preliminary evaluation stage. Harinder said that Indonesia's procurement approach reflects a pragmatic and non-aligned defense strategy. This allows our country to be valued as a flexible partner when advancing military deals. Speaking of the J-10 fighter jets, if it turns out that this model performs well, meets our standards, and the price is reasonable, then why wouldn't I buy it? Alright, since you're not bound by any alliance, you can buy weapons from any country, including China. In fact, China has even proposed a comprehensive package to Indonesia, which includes the sale of J-10C fighter jets, surface ships, weapon systems, and frigates. Indonesia will mainly consider factors like system compatibility, after-sales support, and pricing. According to Fanto, Indonesia has been reviewing its own procurement plans for over a year, and even before the recent India-Pakistan conflict, they were already evaluating the proposal to purchase Rafale fighter jets. Indonesia will also consider the Pakistani military's claim of shooting down an Indian fighter jet when deciding. On June 5, British Defense News website published a piece analyzing Indonesia's procurement of American F-15EX fighter jets with the U.S. Negotiations have been progressing slowly, and Indonesia is now seeking quicker solutions to upgrade its aging fleet. This includes considering the delivery speed and cost advantages of China's J-10C fighter jets and the bilateral relationship between China and Indonesia, all of which could impact future procurement decisions. The article states that as Indonesia deepens its ties with China, it is quite possible the country will choose to purchase the J-10C fighter jets. At present, the Indonesian Air Force has already ordered Rafale fighter jets. If they also acquire the J-10 fighters, Indonesia will have more than 60 canard layout fighter jets, making it one of the countries with the most such aircraft. The conclusion is that modern fighter jets are rarely evaluated based on actual combat capability. Meanwhile, the American F-15EX and the French Rafale are both extremely expensive. The J-10C fighter jet made a name for itself in South Asia, so there's a lot of market potential for it in the future.